Hello and welcome to the Talk Villa podcast. I'm your host Samit Paul, and in this episode we're looking back at Villa's 1-1 draw with Bournemouth at the Vitality Stadium on Saturday afternoon. Morgan Rogers broke the deadlock for us with a brilliant finish in the first half, but after threatening throughout, Bournemouth grabbed an equaliser shortly after the break and then continued to push for a winner. In fairness, Villa did dig deep and we came away with what feels now ultimately a decent point, considering how disappointing our performance was, particularly in the second half. But it is more drop points, which allows the chasing pack to continue to close the gap on us in the race for Champions League qualification. As with every game, I'll be discussing my 5 key talking points as we have a deeper dive into the draw with Bournemouth. But first, let's have a listen to the boss, Unai Emery, and his thoughts on the game as he spoke to Villa TV.
The first half, we played a fantastic game. Of course, they were demanding us good defensively, but we defend well. They created a few chances, but we defend well, and the goalkeeper will saved us. It was a fantastic match. And the second half, and we deserved it to be winning like we did the first half, because we created chances as well, and we were in our momentum creating a good option in attack to get something more. But the second half, the match changed completely, and they were pushing more, they were dominating more, they were creating chances more than us. We only created one chances. Cash was very clear chances, but we really didn't compete like the first half. But of course, we defend fantastic. And when we couldn't offensively get something more, we were fighting defensively with the goalkeeper, with the defense, and we did a fantastic job in set pieces, in throw-in. And I think this point is something fair for both teams, and we deserve this point as well. Of course, they deserved maybe the second half something more, but the match in 90 minutes was equal for both sides.
Okay.
Yes, we know the Premier League very difficult, and we must be resilient sometimes like we are now, trying to keep our resilience and try to recover again our mood. And today this point I think can help us.
That was Unai Emery speaking to Villa TV after our 1-1 draw with Bournemouth. So on to my 5 key talking points then, and let's start with a positive, and that is a decisive display from Emiliano Martinez. Now, Morgan Rogers will undoubtedly receive much of the plaudits after his superb finish put us ahead, and he continues to lead our charge towards the top end of the table in the Champions League qualification spots. But Emi Martinez was a decisive factor in why we were able to return home with a point this weekend. He did raise my eyebrows on a couple of occasions in the first half. I thought he parried some shots that were on decent attempts on goal back into the dangerous area, and we risked gifting an easy finish on the rebound to any Bournemouth player that was on the follow-up. But he did go on to make a string of fundamental saves as the game went on to save us and help keep it level. We needed him to step up in this game as we struggled to contain Bournemouth's attacking threat practically from start to finish. They created a number of big opportunities, and Martinez certainly did that. He stepped up, made big saves, and was crucial in us getting a point in this game. The second point is that a defensive lap ultimately costs us. Now, for all the positive defensive work that we put into this performance, we were undone by a woeful mistake and a massive breakdown in communication in our back line for Bournemouth's goal. Now, Ryan impressed in this game. I thought he was very, very dangerous throughout, but I bet you he couldn't believe his luck in the 55th minute as the Villa defence practically parted way for him to go through and find the back of the net with a smart finish. Now, it started with Lucas Digne. I don't know what he was doing. He just looked as if he just decided to stop playing in the middle of defending an attack. You know what he was trying to do. He thought either Douglas-Luiz or Tyrone Mings was going to come across and pick up Ryan, but they didn't. They failed to react in time to get across and snuff out that danger, and we've given away a sloppy and really highly frustrating goal that ended up costing us a couple of points. Now, particularly when we're struggling for attacking quality, creativity and momentum in the final third, these errors simply cannot happen, as it only makes life more difficult for ourselves. We've seen it cost us in games already this season where it was Emi Martinez making a number of mistakes. This time, I do think, for me personally, it's on Lucas Digne. Tyrone Mings and Luiz have to take some responsibility, yes, but he ultimately failed to track him on the inside run and let him go, and that's on him. In a bigger point, I would have to question the decision to actually start him in this one. I think Ian Maatsen has proven this season that he is our number one choice at left back now. He's improved massively in the defensive phase. He gives us energy and intensity and urgency going forward down the left flank. And so whenever he's fit and available, yes, I understand the need to manage minutes and keep everyone fresh. But if Ian Maatsen is fit, for me, he starts, and Luca Dean can be the option to come in and rotate. That's not sort of reaction to today's events. That's a feeling that I've had this season in particular. But beyond that, Ian Maatsen was always the long-term answer in the left-back position. And we'll obviously see, I'm sure he'll be starting on Wednesday night against Brighton. But a disappointing one for Luca Dean. He's obviously a big player for us. He's very reliable and he's an important part of the squad. But unfortunately on this occasion, I think it's a big mistake from him that leads to the goal. On to the third point, and that is Amadou Onana and Douglas Luiz's fitness and partnership being critical for us. Now, although we failed to maintain control effectively enough in this game, I thought there were signs and indications of how important the Luiz-Onana partnership is going to be moving forward. And that's probably a pretty obvious statement considering we're without Tielemans, McGinn and Kamara now through injury. But I think that pair in particular, they give us presence, they give us composure in midfield. I thought we were quite efficient in the first half in breaking past Bournemouth's first press higher up the pitch. You saw Onana sort of wiggle his way out of trouble, round his marker, and then there was massive open space for him to run into or to play into feet to Morgan Rogers. And I thought Luiz either did that on occasion effectively or he had the vision to try and pick that pass out. It didn't come off all the time, but I thought we were really effective in the first half. But then the lack of creative quality and the clinical edge in front of goal in the final third let us down at that point. I think in order to build rhythm and understanding, it's integral now that those two, Onana and Luiz, play regularly, have a positive run of form together, hit peak condition alongside each other. And the same goes for Ross Barkley. I think he's only going to improve and become more important for us as he gradually improves his fitness levels, gets comfortable in the team and starts to find the rhythm of the team. So we need them to stay healthy, we need them to get minutes, and hopefully we'll cover that loss of Tielemans, McGinn and Kamara as well as possible until obviously we get McGinn back first in a few weeks' time, and then hopefully Tielemans isn't too far behind him. The fourth point is that Jadon Sancho continues to show encouraging signs. Now, he's still lacking consistency, but I think there were more good and positive signs from Sancho in this game as he operated on the right-hand side and added a threat to our play with his clever movement and ability to drift inside and find pockets of space. He was excellent in providing the assist for Morgan Rogers' goal. I thought his work ethic was something that stood out to me. I thought he was brilliant. He was constantly tracking back. He showed good energy, intensity, urgency and desire off the ball to help us maintain our defensive structure. I think with Alisson still working towards full fitness, you've got Leon Bailey searching for form as he was poor coming off the bench in this one. You've got Harvey Elliott still waiting the solution to this impasse over his future. It's on Sancho to give us that boost in attack by adding all-important goals and assists to his game, taking that pressure and burden off Morgan Rogers and Buendia and starting to contribute on a more consistent basis. So hopefully he's just getting better and better and we'll start to see that sooner rather than later. Now the fifth and final point is unfortunately a negative, and that is Ollie Watkins' struggles in this game. Now he missed last week due to injury, and if you listen to Emery's interviews and press conferences over the past few months or longer, Watkins has been battling ongoing fitness issues this season to try and play a key role for us. I think the main one has been a knee problem that's been bothering him for quite some time. He has got 8 goals in 24 league appearances so far this season, and he has made an important contribution. But I think there's signs in his overall play that's starting to become a little bit of a concern for me. Now, this isn't about scapegoating individual players. I can pick out a few others who are poor in this one, didn't do enough. But this is more of this is simply an observation on my part that perhaps does or doesn't require further discussion. Now, for me, he looks a yard short pace. His anticipation is not as sharp as it was. In and around the ball, he seems to be second to a lot of loose balls. His positioning is a little bit off. He's losing physical battles. He's getting shrugged off the ball quite easily. And I just think he's not showing that sharpness in front of goal, whether that's... He does the hard part brilliantly in terms of when he has to create an opening for himself. He gets that yard of space and then he's got that shot on goal, but he's just not sharp or clinical enough with that final piece of the puzzle. And the more important one is that I don't feel he's getting into the right positions when dangerous deliveries are put into the box. Some of those crosses, I think there was one from Sancho in the first half of this one. It was just dying for a Watkins to be in the middle to tap home, and he just wasn't there. He was just sort of a yard or two off it again. So Given that we struggled across the pitch on Saturday, he did get starved of quality service, and that certainly doesn't help him at all. But whether it's him or Tammy Abraham, we need more quality from our front man in and out of possession. Otherwise, our attack has started to look quite blunt up top. And so we need more, and we need to get Watkins firing somehow. So what were your talking points from our draw with Bournemouth? If you're listening on YouTube, leave your comments below. For those listening to the pod via Apple Podcasts, Spotify or other means, please head over to talkvilla.substack.com and get involved in the conversation over there. So that's a wrap on this episode of the Talk Villa podcast. A big thank you for taking the time to have a listen. Please do subscribe to the pod or channel depending on where you're listening. As I say, that's either on Apple Podcasts, Spotify or YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube, please give this episode a like and leave a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you've enjoyed it, sign up to the Talk Villa Plus newsletter on Substack for ad-free Villa news, opinions, analysis, all delivered directly to you. And there is also an option of a paid subscription for bonus content. All the details will be in the description of this podcast, but for more, please go to talkvilla.substack.com and subscribe. So it's another disappointing performance and results. Like I said earlier in the pod, it is a decent point considering I felt how poor the performance was. So there's a positive to take away from it, but it doesn't mask over the fact that this was a really disappointing performance, particularly in the second half. But we will take the point after struggling, and Villa still looking for consistency as well as momentum and confidence now after a few frustrating results in the Premier League. That's one win in our last 5. We've lost games at home, of course, to Everton and Brentford. It's Brighton at home in midweek next, and so it's a chance to learn from our mistakes against Everton and Brentford and try to start getting a winning run going at home again, because that's going to be absolutely vital now between now and the end of the season. So we'll take the draw on this occasion. I'll be back during the week to discuss the Brighton game, but until then, up the Villa.